Do you struggle with perceived neurodivergence, ADHD, trouble focusing, mind wandering? Well, if you want to know some suggestions of what to do about that and hear a client success story about multiple areas, including SP, who has neurodivergence, then you're going to want to stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rousing episode of Spill the Tea Tuesday. My name is Flossie, and I consider myself to be like the funniest, wittiest mindset coach, as well as your OG Hype You Up Rampage Queen here on YouTube. If you want one-on-one coaching with me, some links are going to be in the description box below. And if you haven't seen my sale, which maybe I'll just go ahead and insert here. You're going to want to take advantage of my sale soon because it's going to be over before you know it. And the sale is to celebrate what? Me turning 52. Yo, I just turned 52. I can't believe it because I come from a family that looks my mother looks extremely young for her age. And I just always had the assumption that I inherited her fabulous genes. Anyway, I'm 52 as of just not too long ago because I'm recording this the early morning of the 14th and my birthday was on the 13th. So if you're wanting to do the sale, get in on that before it's gone. And Nikki and I are going to be doing an SP challenge that's going to have information daily, 30-day challenge. It's going to have videos. It's going to have posts. It's going to tell you what you need to do to manifest your SP. Not as in-depth as one of our classes, not as in-depth as my SP course, which is part of the sale, but it is going to have a lot of dope information. And if you want to do that, get a ton of info all in a row, telling you exactly what to do, but can't necessarily do a course right now, then the challenge is for you because it's going to be very reasonably priced and have an add-on option we're thinking of doing where there'd be a Facebook group where there would be like a post once or twice a week that you could ask questions in about that, but that would be an add-on to the challenge. Anyway, without further ado, let me get to my calendar and then to the topic at hand. So, to the calendar. The calendar. This says, make this week your bitch. How about make this week your bitch with getting all your manifestations, putting the 3D in the trash where it belongs, because work that shit. Work on that shit. Put that shit in where the trash. Oops, I'm moving the table. The trash where it belongs. Yeah. We don't need any more bullshit in our 3D reality. I just say that those are facts. It is what it fucking is. Yeah, if you're stuck in victim mentality of some 3D reality, because you know what it is? It's you're being a master manifesting and just getting your shit. Put away the fucking short-sleeved shirts. Not if you manifest warm weather or living in a warm place. Unless, of course, you like cold weather. I don't. It's way too fucking early for office parties. There's a lot of people that say it's never too early for a party. You know what I'm saying? And just stay off the fucking roads from now until February. Not an issue if you live someplace warm like I would prefer to do, or manifest better weather. Let's get to my client success story. He sent me a success story and I wrote him asking some questions to share with you guys to help you guys get your shiznit. And he said that I could not only share a story, but he offered some additional info that I think will be helpful for you folks who see yourself as having some neurodivergence. Anyway, he says, hello, Flossie. Not sure if you remember me from earlier this year. You kindly helped me with my SP. Well, a lot has happened. I will do it in order of things. So as you know, I was manifesting my SP back after breaking up last year and not talking. We began by talking, but only the odd conversation. Then when it was my birthday in May, he bought me a cake and we celebrated online as we live apart. I then manifested a car. I'm learning to drive and wanted a good car, which had a built-in camera and sat nav. I didn't have a car in mind, just one under 7,000. Most secondhand cars now are 12,000 and without built-in camera and sat nav. But I did find a Citroen DS5, which isn't a common car here, and the dealer had only seen 3 in his life. It had everything I wanted and extra: sun tooth screens, CD player, and tinted windows. I don't know if that means moon, you know, the sun moon roof. But anyhow, then I got my dream job and I recently graduated university with a BA. And I think the term he has here means honors in fine art. and got offered a job in a psych ward as an activities co-coordinator, so doing art and baking with patients. Then another ward heard about me and requested me to work on their ward too. And now SP has asked to be in a relationship with me. So much has happened. I wanted to share my story, as I've seen so many people say that their autism might stop them. Well, I have autism and find it hard to concentrate, but it is possible. Your subconscious knows. Sometimes I would rhyme my affirmations or use syllables or clap my hand when saying them. Again, thank you so much, Flossie. Thank you so much. My life has changed because of your guidance. Kind regards. And then he signed it. And so I wrote him back and I just said, I do remember you. I'm so happy for you. I hope you're truly feeling powerful. This is so awesome. All the amazing things you manifested. Could I share this and on to inspire others? What did you notice during the journey that was interesting to you? Were the things in the email I mentioned only things that helped you with neurodivergence? What tips did you have for others? And what aspects of the coaching did you find most helpful? Because I'm finding this, interesting, reading what he wrote with his experience with, his neurodivergence with autism. So he said in response, of course you can. I hope it inspires others and puts an end to people saying I can't. My main reason for coming to you about manifesting my SP, it took me a while to get the end result, but what I did notice in my journey was that there was always movement. When we began to speak again, I noticed each time he became more closer to me and clingy, which he never was before. He began to speak to me more and more each day and even started to get worried if I didn't reply quickly. So there was always movement, which kept me from giving up. I always have an overactive imagination, but when it comes to imagining me and my SP, my mind was foggy and not clear. So when I did robotic affirmations, I'd use a counter app, but it still struggled with other thoughts coming in at the same time. I began to split up the words and clap with each word. When I did this, it seemed to soak in better and I began to get images. Sometimes I would rhyme my affirmations, which also helped a lot. Example, my, 1 clap, SP, 2 claps, loves, 1 clap, me, 1 clap. And so I guess that would sound, for those of you who would want to hear it, my SP loves me. And so with his neurodivergence, he found that to be helpful. He also said, my advice might sound harsh, but it did help me. If you keep complaining or watching hundreds of different videos and having different coaches, then it's not going to happen. So give up or change. Now, I think that we can manifest anything we want. This is his opinion, which, in his reality, that's how it would seem to him. But, there is something to be said about watching tons of different coaches and getting so much different advice that conflicts that you're like spinning your wheels and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. And so people sometimes do give up during those things because they're just so confused and so conflicted in the journey and they don't know what to do. And they just get on this hamster wheel that seems to never end. And I think that's what my client is referring to. He goes on to say, change the thoughts. Sometimes I got annoyed and wanted to give up, but I took a step back and thought, okay, clearly I'm thinking something which I do not want to be reflected. I take responsibility. How can I rethink this? You really made me realize that it was my self-concept, which was the main reason my manifestation took a while. The FU and command letter helped a lot. I really recommend people to take responsibility and to just trust, which is hard. Everything is a reflection. Just realize how important you are in your world, your reality. Sometimes making a villain persona can help. Ha ha. So my client found some ways to make things work for him in his reality, which is totally awesome. And I'm glad that he shared that to inspire those of you that feel like you're struggling with that as well. Now, I'm going to expand on some of what he said, because I've made videos in the past where I've talked about different things to do to make manifestation seem easier to you, make affirming to seem more fun. And I've mentioned neurodivergence in videos before. And there's a reason why when I've talked about, affirming, that I've mentioned to people to affirm for, less amount of time than 10 minutes or not feel obligated to do 10 minutes in a session. And I'll link that video here where I talk about how long to affirm. Now, one of the reasons why I suggest to my clients, to try to affirm for 3 to 5 minutes per topic, not per affirmation, but per topic at least 3 times a day, is because many folks struggle to maintain focus for a certain amount of time. And I recognize that that's my reality and that's how I see people and that's how they show up. But I try to use assumptions that work for all of us. And so if people feel like they have to affirm for 10 minutes straight on a topic and that they must do that, and they keep, having their mind go everywhere and they're not staying focused, that can feel kind of daunting and, quite honestly, mind draining. Because, think of going to the gym. If you're going to the gym and you're using equipment and you start to get tired, at some point, if you are using the equipment and you're starting to do it incorrectly because you're so exhausted, you're not really doing anything to help yourself, right? Well, I kind of think if your mind keeps wandering and you keep having to redirect it constantly, it gets to a point where it feels exhausting, demotivating, and it's like you're spinning your wheels. And so I rather see people do short bursts of time, maybe more frequently. I do have some clients who affirm 6 or 7 times a day, but they do very short bursts of affirming. And a lot of my clients indicate to me that it's hard for them to affirm for more than, 5-7 minutes a topic, which is not unusual, because I think that for a lot of people, that's how long they're able to maintain a focus strictly on one thing. That's like, where you're repeating a thought. It's not, it's not the same as driving. It's not necessarily the same as, doing an actual task. Like you're, trying to just think the same thought over and over and over again. So anyway, with the 3 to 5 minutes though, I do tell people to use a focusing tool. Now this is a handheld tally counter. It's one I got off of Amazon. It actually beeps when you get to 100. You can reset it, of course, back to 0. So you can push it, reset it back to 0. It even has a little light that comes on. So if you're in the dark or what have you. But I tell people, if you're struggling to stay focused, use a focusing tool, like a tally counter. This is a tally counter, or a counter app that's on your phone. That is something that you can use to focus. Other types of focusing tools can be using beads. Like if you have beads that you're moving back and forth. Some people actually like to do the EFT tapping, where they're tapping on points. I'm not going to go over EFT tapping in this video. I've talked about it in multiple videos, but I use the 5 points of the inner eye, outer eye, under the eye, clavicle, and the wrist. But you can do EFT as a way to tap in your affirmations, but also focus. You can do it. My client suggested you can clap the syllables or with each word if you need to focus on each word. You can also snap your fingers. Some people with the counter app actually do click the counter either every affirmation, or you could even click it every word if it's helped to keep you on task, because it's just used to focus in the first place. And when you watch the video about how long I affirm, it talks about how to use a tally counter and all that. I don't want to make this video so lengthy by going into that long-winded item. But at any rate, you could click the tally counter every time you say a word or with every affirmation, because you're not necessarily focused on numbers. You're focusing on focusing. You could do one of the other things my client suggested, which I've talked about before, either rhyme affirmations or, use music that you find, like that you had a song that you like, and switch out the words and make it about your affirmations. Additionally, some people do well if they're doing an activity. So they're occupying part of their mind while they're affirming. And so keep in mind that when people talk about neurodivergence, and I'm not going to go into every single type of neurodivergence, a lot of times when it comes to affirming, where the difficulty lies is either some folks with neurodivergence either hyperfocus, and they're so hyperfocused on one thing that it makes it hard for them to pull away to affirm, or their mind is easily distracted, or they have trouble focusing, or some folks even struggle to recall, even with doing, affirmations. And so if you're one of those folks that you really struggle to recall what you're thinking, like if I've had clients who have said, I have 5 affirmations and I struggle to remember them. We'll do one affirmation at a time, or have them written down. And, you can look at your list while you're using a counter and read that one affirmation and read it while you're clicking over and over again, or read it in your mind or out loud over and over again. If you're someone who struggles to what's my next affirmation, or, this seems like too many. But anyway, some folks' minds are so busy that it makes it more difficult for their minds to stay focused unless they're doing another task. So I actually like to affirm when I'm driving, because I drive where I know I'm already going, and I tend to affirm when I'm doing that, because the affirming isn't taken away really from me driving. It's just, I'm occupying part of my mind with the affirming. I'm occupying another part with driving. I get to where I need to go. I'm still safe. It would be the same as me having a conversation in the car. We talk in the car all day long, or we listen to music all day long. Nobody has issues with that. I just choose to affirm, and I consider it like an act of affirming because I'm doing a task, which is taking some of the pressure off my mind so that it stops the thoughts from coming in. That's what it does, is instead of thoughts coming in that are going to distract me, they're not coming in because part of my mind's focusing on driving. The other part is focusing on affirming. You can actually doodle if you wish. So occupy part of your mind with doodling. If you like to knit or crochet, you could actually affirm and crochet. And every time you do a stitch, you could be saying a word. You know, you could do your regular activities and affirm and have it be a way to make it be a focusing tool. I mean, think of all the stuff that you do. If it's working out, you could do it while walking, use your counter or tally app while walking, even doing the dishes. There's so many things I could think of that you could do while you could affirm, and you could use that activity as a way to help you stay on track. It's just find a way that that activity works for you in a way that you can keep your mind focused. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that I'm making some sense to you, because I've made hats and I've done other things, and I could think about like how I could make stitches while I'm also affirming and make a rhythm out of that. So doodling, anything that distracts part of your mind. So you can use things to actually pull your focus, to pull your focus, like the clapping, the snapping, using a counter app or a handheld tally counter or EFT tapping. You can, make the words rhyme. You can use music. You can use an activity where you would be doing an action while you are affirming to keep you on track, or just something that's going to distract your mind enough so that the other part of your mind can affirm and not be likely to have as many weird thoughts entering there. And of course, lastly, you can also affirm to focus. You can affirm that, you're easily able to concentrate, that you're affirming so easy for you that you're able to focus on your affirmations. You have to keep in mind that you're your own creation too, right? And so I'm not going to sit here and say that not having focus or, struggling to do XYZ may not seem real to you, because in the current reality, that might be what you're experiencing. But don't forget, you can create a version of yourself that doesn't even have that or experience that in the first place. And while you're manifesting that, you can find ways that affirming becomes easier for you. So I'm going to link somewhere throughout this video my videos about how long to affirm, making affirming fun, focused affirming, robotic affirming, power affirming. I'm going to link those in here because I talk in those videos about a lot of these things. And I believe I go more in depth into the topics. So hope the success story motivates you, inspires you, helps you to realize that you can literally be, do, have anything that you want. It doesn't matter if in the current 3D reality that you appear as a version of yourself that has some neurodivergence, whether it's autism, ADHD, things, TBI, doesn't matter. You can do different things in your reality in order to help you focus, manifest what you want, manifest a different version of yourself. And there you go. And so you guys know that I do have a background that's, that's in how we think. And I try to take things that are already discussed in the 3D reality and make them work for us. It's one of the reasons why my clients are so successful, is I bring in 3D solutions for issues with manifesting that really aren't talked about, because there's not a lot of people that combine the two. So anyway, again, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Drop any comments, questions, or concerns below, because I do eventually check them out. And as usual, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Oh, and if you have any tips that's helped you with your neurodivergence, your inability to focus, or your struggle or whatever, drop them below, because we're a group and we like to help each other. So anything that's worked for you in your reality is valid to drop. It's up to that person or not, whether they want to try that out for themselves. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.